these issues, one wants to wonder what exactly is going on. This forms the basis of our conversations that we'll be having this morning. Let's look at a few other stories making headlines.
Yeah, so there is this story of the traders. I shall be having that conversation a little bit later, but just the effect of the same. And here we talk about some businesses across Nairobi Central Business District remained closed as the day of protest descended into chaos. Scattered glass and shattered windows lined the streets after several shops were looted by goons, leaving traders counting heavy losses as goods and property were stolen in the mayhem. One of the worst hit businesses was an IT solutions shop in Moi Avenue. A group of looters broke in and made away with dozens of laptops. The group had earlier vandalized another shop at the junction of Moi Avenue and Kenyatta Avenue before targeting their building. Now, we were watching from a distance as they looted the first shop. Moments later, they came to our shop and they smashed our shop glass windows and tried to force their way in. Now, if you look at what leaders in the city have said, we will make sure that we protect the businesses here. But then again, with reports that you're getting that they are the ones that sent the goons who then turned rogue and went to steal from the people of Nairobi, one asks the question, what exactly were you protecting if the people you sent on the streets are the ones stealing and making it difficult for the people who pay your taxes to operate in the city?
Yeah. Okay.
I go to another story.
Sorry.
Let's try and move away from the death, the killings, and everything to something that might just slide under quietly. The Hustler Fund. So the Auditor General, Nancy Gathongu, questions how 8 billion Kenya shillings was spent without proper request or accountability. So the Auditor General has flagged 8 billion shillings allocated to the Hustler Fund in the financial year ending June 2023 as unaccounted for despite the National Treasury. Now, the Auditor General has said in a report for the year ending June 2023 that the State Department spent 14 billion despite having an approved budget of 22.96 billion. This means there was an under-absorption of 8.2 billion, which represents 36% of the entire location. Now, Cooperative Principal Secretary Patrick Ilemi, who appeared before the National Assembly Public Accounts Committee, chaired by Butere MP Tindi Mwale, was at pains to explain how the money was spent as the Auditor General raised questions of underfunding, which came in the way of implementing planned activities. Now, here's where my question is. Just the other day, the audit around the Hustler Fund was, okay, there are people who bado hawajarudisha pesa. We still need more money, pump more money into this kitty so that it can go serve the hustlers. Now, the Auditor General is saying money was released, but there is money that is unaccounted for. There is an under-absorption of 8.2 billion. Hii pesa iko wapi?
Ulisema jana
Ninawauliza.
mimi kuna kitu ulisema jana, system ya majambazi.
Do you remember this is the same Hustler Fund that at the beginning of it, they were asked, okay, so this is great, there's a Hustler Fund, but it's public fund, first of all, so that means there needs to be an implementation metrics where you need to have a setup, office that's going to be dealt with, and all of that needs to be gazetted, who you're going to make the CEO and all of this, and it was that the fund was actually operational without these implementation infrastructure in place, right? So do you then see how easy it would be for 8 billion shillings to then just, fly out the window? If you have no mode of proper operation, how do you expect that you have a proper mode of accounting and approval and all of this? If we are dealing with the same fund where people have borrowed since it came into inception and have never paid the money back, and even in terms of follow-up, nobody has actually started to follow, what do you expect? 8 billion shillings gonna make? I'm surprised it was not more. Can you imagine that's where we've reached? That we actually say 22 billion shillings was the budget they had? Only 8 billion can't be accounted for? Wow. It's impressive.
Can I tell you why that can't be accounted for? Now, here's the answer. Kilemi attributes the missing funds to procedural gaps, even as he explained that funding requests in government must be initiated by a department's chief finance officer through the principal secretary, who subsequently forwards to the National Treasury, yada, yada, yada. In quotes, in this case, the 8 billion Kenya shillings may not have been requested through the proper channels. And that is why it did not come through, he explained. Even as he admitted, he may not fully account for the 8 billion shillings, the PS made reference to the transitional challenges in government departments at the beginning of Kenya Kwanza administration. So according to the PS, when the new administration came into power, the State Department for Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, SMEs, had not yet been established in government financial systems. So to this end, Kilemi is explaining that responsibility of initiating the Hustler Fund rested temporarily on the State Department for Cooperatives, which he was heading at the time.
Oh, knock me over with a feather.
Hey.
Do you know what? You see that explanation that has been given in Parliament?
Yes.
Happen to your story, me funny?
Nimekunywa maji.
Yeah.
Finished.
You know how they say in Swahili? Imeenda.
Because let me ask the question. It is the Kenya Kwanza government that came up with the Hustler Fund, right?
Yes.
One would assume that they had come up with a structure on how these funds would be
The thing
operationalized.
was taken to court because there was no operationalization matrix. And here we are saying, Gavongo is saying what? Procedure. How do you follow procedure if you don't have infrastructure set up? So one must ask, was it at the very beginning set up with an intention to move money?
Yeah.
You have to ask. Because did Kenyans borrow the 8 billion? That's missing.
That's
No,
the question.
they're saying the 14 billion is what was borrowed.
What was borrowed.
See, my head is aching already. And it's not even 7 o'clock. Wow. Okay.
You cannot account
You cannot.
for 8. Do you know? Just picture 8 billion. Just picture 8 billion.
You're talking about 8 billion. There's a time when this show we're talking about the 140 million that was donated to a church and how many classes it can construct.
Yeah.
You remember we do that now?
Yeah.
Now do talk about 8 billion. Remember 8 billion is perhaps an allocation for some counties in the country. Yeah.
And then you say there's no money
There's no
to
money.
pay school fees. See, I beg you, people should just leave me alone, please.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you what MPs did. Maybe a good thing, depending. They've rejected the proposal to allow KRA access to phone and bank private data. They've said, you want to look at what? Because they realize even us, we're involved. No. Lawmakers have backed proposals by the National Assembly Committee on Finance to amend contentious clauses to the Finance Bill 2025.
Can I tell you something? So someone was telling me, come on, are we kidding ourselves? If KRA decides to access my phone and your bank private data, when ni mwananchi mdogo sana, there's not much to look into. But these guys know. If KRA decides to get into the MP's bank accounts,
They will find it.
their phones to check transactions and all these guys, itawaramba.
Yeah.
Like, they've said they're not going to allow
But
that.
you see, the beautiful part is KRA can still do it anyway. It's just that there is no law. So it's just that they're saying, KRA, please, we don't want to give you the right to do it. So,
No, see, they're the ones who are going to discuss it in Parliament, and then
Exactly.
they will say yes.